Today is just a preparation day for tomorrow. Tomorrow we are having a velo day, testing where I'm at on the mound, going for 95, of course, but the small, more realistic goal is hitting 92 again and sitting 90 instead of 88 to 89. So today is just like a prep work. We're going to do a little bit of plyos, some light throwing, some mobility, and then at the gym, just a lighter day so that I'm not fatigued at all for tomorrow. I'm 100% fresh and ready to go. So today's more about maintenance and just prepping my body for tomorrow than like getting better, which is why I always say that it's really hard to get better in season, because this is the kind of training day that you're going to have in season where you're just prepping for your next outing. Because if you go too hard in the gym, you're just not going to perform at your highest potential in season. What up, Tyler? Thank you for liking the live. Appreciate it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I love to answer and talk to you guys. Any opinions that you guys might have. Any questions on what you might want to do for your training. Any questions on my training when I do. Let me know. But tomorrow is velo day. Saturday is going to be a recovery day from that velo day, and then next week is a deload week. And then the week after that, right back to it with a new program. So as usual, starting off with the Theragun, going over every muscle in my body, getting everything woken up and loosened up, focusing on spots that are a little bit more tender than others. And I do this every day pretty much. There's different ways that you can utilize the Theragun. So I utilize it for both prep and recovery. So for prep, you really want to dig deep into the muscle and really push hard into the muscle and have it on a high setting. And then for recovery is the opposite pretty much. You want to go lightly, barely kind of grazing the muscle and have it on a lower setting. So two different ways to use the Theragun. You don't always want to have it at the highest setting and digging deep into the muscle. That's more for potentiation and activation. And then recovery is more of like a lower, more mellow setting. But one thing that I learned that I didn't really know is that digging it deep into the muscle is key if you want to activate it for pre-throw or pre-workout, whatever. And what's cool about this Theragun is that there's an app that you can connect to, and it shows you the pressure and tells you the optimal pressure for what you're trying to achieve. How many hours a day would you say you train/throw? Well, my most recent video, you can actually see what a full day of training and throwing looks like. That day I started at 10:30 and ended at just before 3:30, so it was almost 5 hours of training. But on average, I'd say like 4 hours, depending on the day. I have some lighter days that will be in the 3.5 hour range, and then high intensity days like the day I posted, which are in like the 4 to 5 hour range. So it depends on the day, but I'd say on average 4 hours I'm training. And that also doesn't really include the recovery I do too. When I get home after I'm done training, I'll put the stem on my arm or on my legs or something like that. I'll use the Theragun at a low setting. I'll sit in front of the red light Every morning when I wake up, I do a little bit of mobility just right when I wake up to loosen the body. And before I go to bed, I have a little routine too. So, there's 5 hours of dedicated training, 4 to 5 hours of dedicated training. But throughout the day, I'm still doing work. And then I also consider all the cooking that I do work, because I cook 90% of my meals. So, and I have 4 meals a day, and that takes up a lot of time. Not necessarily training, but, it's still for achieving 95. And then I also do mental training, reading, meditation, and then, everything that I can possibly do to optimize every part of my life so that I can throw 95. And not only throw 95, but throw 95 in the most efficient and healthy way possible, so I'm not hurting myself either. Do you ever lift before you throw, or always after? I always lift after. I never lift before I throw. I think throwing, like I do my whole warm up, and then I throw, and I think that if anything, it's a warm up for my lift. I never really lift before I throw, ever. Because I think that if I lifted before I threw, I'd be more fatigued during my throwing session, and that could probably lead to injury, I would say. So I definitely always lift after I throw, especially because lifting promotes more blood flow. So it's actually good recovery too for the arm. So I would always lift after I throw, not before. But there are some constraints that you might have where you might have to lift before, but I think the optimal route for me is to always lift after. I appreciate you liking the stream. Keep the questions coming. Let me know what you guys do. Do you guys lift before, or you lift after you throw? What do you like? I mean, a lot of it is preference, It's, whatever I say, it doesn't always go. There's a lot of things that you need to individualize, and some people they might feel like if they lift before they throw, they get into deeper ranges while they're throwing. For me, with the style of training that I do, I just feel like it might fatigue me. But there are certain lifts that I would do before I threw if I was more focused on getting into deep ranges of motion and loading them. But for the most part, for me, I prefer to lift after. I prefer after, but can't always get that. Yeah, of course. I mean, there's always going to be some sort of time constraint, or life, or you have a game, and you know that you're not going to be able to lift after, and getting your work in before might be optimal. So, or you have class and then practice, and you just know that I only have time to lift in the morning, and then I have practice later in the day. So yeah, it makes sense. You just have to do what fits you. I can recommend what I think is optimal, but it might not be realistic for everyone, and that's why you need to have a good coach who can create a plan that's tailored around, not only what's optimal for you, but what's optimal for your schedule. Because you work, I'm sure you work or go to school or, do something else besides baseball. Where are you from? I'm from North Jersey. Northern New Jersey. What about you, Tyler? Where are you from? I'm in Denville right now. This is where I just come to a field and throw. I don't live in Denville, but I always drive through here to go to the gym, so I just stop at this field to throw when it's nice out, and then I chuck on the live as well. No RPR today, RPR tomorrow though, for before I have my Velo day. But we're gonna go right into some active mobility. My roommate is from Cherry Hill. That's like South Jersey, but I'm from South Carolina. Nice, 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 nice. Thank you for liking the live. Welcome in. If you're just joining us, I'm just doing my warm-up active mobility right now. I always start off with Theragun and then go into active mobility. And on heavy days, I do something called RPR, which is short for reflexive performance reset, and it's basically targeting different pressure points in the body and doing controlled breathing to kind of rewire your brain into moving in a more efficient way, because sometimes your body falls into patterns of movement that aren't optimal, and that kind of resets everything. There's some good science behind it. You can look it up. Reflexive performance reset, or RPR. I'm not doing that today. We're doing that tomorrow, but I'm in my active mobility routine, and then I do dynamic warm-up, and then shoulder activation. I'll probably do some extreme slows, and then I'm gonna do some plyos, throw a little bit with the baseball, some recovery, and then I'm going to the gym. And that's the routine for today. Getting into a deep squat is one of my favorite things to do. Opens up the hips, loosens up the muscles and joints, your knees and ankles, getting to deep ranges of motion. If you can hang out in a deep squat like this for a few minutes and be fine, you probably have really good hips. And it's really good for if you have lower back pain as well. I used to have lower back pain from deadlifting too heavy, and now that I'm able to do this, no lower back pain. What's going on, Mr. Man? How's everyone doing today? What up, Thomas? So all my active mobility routines are posted on my page. I'm doing my full hip routine. You can check it out on my page if you want, if you miss anything. But these routines, I think, are good for everyone to do pre-throw, but I've kind of tailored them more to what I need. You might have really loose hips already, or you might have really tight hips in certain areas. Like, I know that I have really good external rotation, but not too good of internal. It's good, it's average, my internal rotation, but that's definitely more of a focus for me when I'm doing my hip mobility. So you always have to consider what you're good at, what you're not good at, and create a program around that. Not just do whatever you see online. You might be able to get away with it. A lot of the stuff you see might be good, but it just might not be optimal for what you need. But I think in general, moving every joint and just getting to end range on every position before throwing is a good thing. Not statically, but actively on every position before throwing is a good thing. Not statically, but actively. So not Sorry about that. I had a phone call from my girlfriend. Always have to answer the girlfriend. I learned the hard way. But yeah, as I was saying, I'm more of a external rotation dominant in my hips. So I try to focus on the internal rotation aspect a little bit more. And I'm never doing before I throw static stretching. There's a lot of research around how static stretching can actually lead to more injury. Doing static stretching is better than doing nothing, but doing active mobility is definitely a step above static stretching. So if you're still doing static stretching, I would really reconsider that and try to incorporate an active mobility routine before you throw, and a soft tissue routine, whether that's with the Theragun like I do, or with a foam roller and lacrosse ball, whatever you prefer or whatever you can afford. Definitely incorporate that instead of a static stretching routine. And I know a lot of coaches are stubborn and make you do whatever they want, and that's why it's still up to you. You have practice at 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's up to you if you want to show up an hour early and do the work that you know you need to do to get prepared to throw. So just keep that in mind. Do you bench press and barbell squat? I used to. I don't really do compound lifts anymore because I'm in a place where I'm strong enough and big enough. And also because of my size and lankiness, I can easily get hurt doing compound lifts compared to someone who's a little more stocky. So I kind of avoid compound lifts like that now. But for you, it might be an optimal approach depending on where you're at. For me, it's more about generating power and speed. So I don't really need the raw strength. I'm strong enough as I am. But again, that's why you need to have a specific tailored program to whatever you need, because what I need is going to be different than what you need. But I do a lot of overcoming isometrics that do involve bench, squat, and deadlift, but I'm not actually doing like bench, squat, and deadlift for like weight. I'm just doing it in a overcoming isometric way. And you can see all my workouts on my page as well if you're curious. I split my workouts into a lower pull, then upper push, then a movement day, and then lower push, upper pull, and then another movement day, and then off on Sundays. And you can see I have all those workouts posted on my page if you're interested. But again, I post my workouts because I'm documenting my journey, showing you guys exactly what I'm planning to do, but that might not be completely optimal for you. I think overcoming isometrics are a great tool, and I think they should be incorporated into most people's programs, but it's not the end-all be-all, and it's not, it might not be what you need. You might need pure strength work. You might need pure athletic work, footwork. You might need pure speed work. You have to assess where you're at and then develop a program based on that. You might need more range of motion, more mobility work than I do, or than someone else does, or less than I do, or less than someone else does. So, and then of course, time is a big issue. I have all the time in the world. I'm fully dedicated to this. I put in as much effort as I can every day and as much time as I can until I have diminishing returns. So I basically do, the maximum amount I can do, but some of you might only have 2 hours in a day to get a lift in and get a throwing session in because, you're in school from 8 to 3, or you're in college, or you just have other life things going on, and I don't blame you for that. There's definitely optimal programs for you, even if you don't have the amount, 6-7 hours that I put in every day. So this is my full spine routine now. Started with the neck. I'm just moving my spine in every way, getting to end range, but not, holding statically, just getting there in an active way. Making sure that every muscle and every joint in my body gets moved in some way before I throw, so that everything has been prepped and has blood flowing into it. That's really the key to everything, in my opinion, is blood flow. I'm huge on just getting blood flowing into all parts of your body, into your joints, to your muscles, especially if you're trying to recover or warm up. Watched yesterday and didn't see any compound lifts. That's why I asked. Well, I mean, I did do, what's it called? I did do rows. Yesterday was a pull day, so I did do row drop catches. That's a compound lift. I did chin ups, which is a compound lift. Yesterday was all based, the video that I posted was all based on pulling movements, and that's the video I posted this morning, I should say. I don't remember which video I posted yesterday, but yeah, today, if you watch the whole video, it was this was a workout. This is my Friday workout that I posted. So it was just my full Friday training day. Started off at the field, did my warm up, throwing, all that, and then I went to the gym and it was an upper pull day. So all pulling motions. And I like to split things into upper, lower, but then also upper pull, lower push, upper push, so that I can fatigue them to the max and then have plenty of time in between workouts to recover from them fully. So I'm never really fully fatigued for too long in any place. I think one mistake people make with this exercise, the cat camels, they just go like this, and it's fine, but I like to go really slow and then take a deep breath at the end range here. And when I take a deep breath, I'm focusing on expanding my core and contracting it. It's a hot day out today. Definitely gonna get dark. All right, so that's my spine routine done. I'm already sweating. Now my shoulder movement routine. Prayer circles. $90-90. Over-unders. And then opposite over-unders. Scap retraction. And then just a couple arm circles. Back slaps. I don't know what these are actually called, but from when I was like a child, people called this bushwhackers. I feel like that's probably a derogatory term, but that's just what I was taught when I was like 10 years old, that these are called that, so I don't really know what they're actually called. Get a drink, take a couple breaths. One thing that I think is super important and overlooked is hydration. I'm drinking at least 7 bottles of water a day. The stream is not loading on this, so I hope it's still going. I'm going to assume it is and just keep going. I'm going to move into my dynamic warm-up, which you just don't need a lot of when you are outside and it's blazing hot out. Who's your favorite MLB pitcher to watch? My favorite MLB pitcher to watch right now, I would say, is Luke Weaver, for sure. Former MLB player, definitely Trevor Bauer. And, I used to love watching Garrett Cole, of course, as well. I mean, I'm a big Yankees fan, so that's a little biased, but I just, of course I love watching the Yankees. I still love watching Chapman throw. And another guy I really like watching throw is Luis Garcia. He's on the Angels. Not like a super popular pitcher, but who was your favorite pitchers to watch? Let me know in the comments right now. Who do you guys like to watch the pitch? Let me see if the live stream works on my phone here now. Yeah, when it's nice and hot out like this, I don't need much of a dynamic warm-up. DeGrom's a great choice. I love watching DeGrom, especially in his prime. Ethan, I'm 25, and currently I do not play for anyone, and my goal, honestly, at this point, is not to play right now, maybe in the future, but at this point in my career, I'm more so just training. Partially for fun, but also partially to hopefully help others train and get to where they want to be. I get more satisfaction out of that than actually playing, and I enjoy coaching very much. And I want to open my own facility. So that's really my goal as of now. Maybe in the future I do wind up playing somewhere. But as right now, my goal is to help others. Where do you guys play? How old are you guys? Are you guys in high school, college, younger, pro? What are you guys up to in your careers? How hard are you guys throwing? What are your goals? Skeens, of course. I love watching skeens. Thank you for liking the live. Appreciate it. All right, so now I'm going to do a little bit of chain work, which I just recently started doing. Recently, I should say yesterday, I started doing. This is something I kind of was going through my old notes and saw and kind of forgot about. And I did it yesterday. I kind of like it a lot. Don't think it's something I will do on a high intent day like tomorrow, but something that's good for a low intent day like today. So I'm just going through all motions in my chain. posterior, anterior, side. And just, it's like an active mobility routine, full body though, instead of targeting things, just doing it in more of a full body way. Training a little bit of stability as well. And something I'm going to start incorporating to these specifically is stability, where I'm not touching my foot to the ground and trying to get to the end range while being stable. And then also loading, holding a weight here and loading these positions. So after these, I'm going to hop into some shoulder activation. I think I'm going to do my 2-pound plyo ball routine and just do my plyo routine right after that. Today I'm going to go through all the weights. Let's see. 2-pound plyo and plyo balls. When it's hot out like this, I don't like to do a crazy big dynamic warm-up, because then it's just going to turn into a workout, and I'm not really trying to work out right now. I'm just trying to get warm, and it's easy to get warm when it's already 90 degrees out and not a single cloud in the sky. Something else you should keep in mind if you're going into a game day: don't overwork yourself, don't drain yourself. Be mindful of how much you actually need to do to get fully prepped based on the weather. If it was a freezing day, I'd probably do twice the amount of warm-up that I would normally do. But I'm just going over to this brick wall over here. I'm gonna do some wall taps and then some plyos. And then I'm just gonna do some light throwing, and I'm done for the day with my my throwing. So today is more of like very light day. Like I said before, on average I'll probably work out for about 4 hours. Today is more of like a 3-hour day. And then tomorrow is probably going to be more of a 5-hour day with Velo day. I'm going to do more prep work than I did today, of course. And I'm also going to be doing a lot more recovery than I would be doing today. Let me know what you guys do for pre-throw. What kind of warm-ups do you guys do? Do you guys do active mobility? Do you guys do static stretching? Do you do more of a dynamic routine? What do you do for arm care before throw? I have a lot of different arm care tools that I use, and I kind of just cycle through them depending on how I'm feeling that day. And today I'm just going to be doing some wall taps to get my shoulder going. Another pitcher I used to love watching was Wandy Peralta. I think he's an incredible pitcher to watch. When he was on the Yankees a few years ago, closing out games. Not necessarily closing. Yeah, he was closing games, some games. All right, now I'm just gonna go through my plyo ball routine where I build up, starting with 1 pound and then going all the way down to 3.5 ounces. How many days a week do you guys train? Do you guys train every day? Do you guys train 3 or 4 times a week? Some people only have time for 3-4 days a week, or some people just feel better training 3-4 days a week. Personally, I'm training 6 days a week right now. Let me just get a better angle here. I train 6 days a week and then I have 1 complete off day. And I program my training so that I can be fully recovered after every workout really easily. So this is an 11-ounce ball. So I go 1 pound, 11 ounces, then 9, 7, 5, 3.5. And as the weight drops, I also just do progressively more movement and incorporation with my body and kind of just build up. You know, this for me is more like a warm-up than doing like, you know, velocity training. I kind of use plyos more as like a tool to warm up and get into deeper positions, and then slowly build arm speed by decreasing the weight. But there's many other uses for plyos as well. One thing I'm trying to get better at in my mechanics is counter rotating in my trunk later in the delivery. So right before foot plant, counter rotating, because right now, right at foot plant, my hips are going first, but then my upper goes just like a touch too early. So if right before foot plant, I can just counter rotate a little bit, then I'll get probably a few extra degrees of hip shoulder separation and hopefully some effortless velo. So that's really my main focus in terms of mechanics right now. And I'm a, almost a sidearm thrower. What's your reason behind the walk back throws? So the walk back throws, I think, are great if you have a pushy arm action. And the walk back throws kind of get your momentum moving back and then get your arm in a spot where it's throwing and your elbows behind your head if you went from the side view. So I'll show you actually. What a lot of people do is they get here to here, really pushy and elbow out in front. And what the walk back throws kind of do is put you in a position to where, since you're walking back and your hips are kind of firing and square to the target already, you're releasing the ball from here which puts your elbow in a better position. So I walk back and throw there to avoid a pushy arm. And if you're going to do that and you have a pushy arm, I recommend you start with only using the 5 ounce and 3.5 ounce. I'll still have days where I only exclusively use the 5 ounce and 3.5 ounce. But today I'm doing like a full warm up basically. But I will have full days where my entire day is just doing those walk back, walk into, and then walk backwards here and walk forwards here. I have a video of that routine on my page too if you're interested. If you have a pushy arm action, those are the best drills for you to kind of get your arm on time and not get into external rotation too early. Forgot what I was going to do. All right. So now it's just one more throw, and then I'm just going to do some baseball work. Again, the focus for my mechanics is pretty much exclusively just at land, trying to counter rotate it a little bit. So just trying to feel this right at land instead of this and this, and then go with the upper half. Just delaying the upper half for an extra hair by counter rotating a little bit. And now I'm going to go into baseball throws. Set up the net down there. So now I'm going to head down to where my stuff is and just do some baseball throws. Again, the whole focus is just on that counter rotation right at foot plant in the upper half. I think that's going to be a big velocity unlock for tomorrow. So if I can kind of get that ingrained in my brain a little bit today and even get like an extra half a degree for tomorrow, I think we're going to be in a great spot to throw hard. Thank you for liking the live, appreciate it. If you do enjoy the live, I appreciate if you leave a like. So I'm just gonna set up this net now and then get going. Pretty much the same as yesterday, pretty much just a flat ground, probably throw some splitters, but I'm keeping it light so that tomorrow I'm fully ready to go. I'd say I threw those plyo balls. I'm probably gonna do a full bucket here, so medium volume, but low intensity. And I might do a few athletic throws too. What are you guys' goals for pitching? Where are you right now? Are you guys in high school, college? And where are you looking to go? Are you guys looking to go pro? Or are you guys just looking to get a good scholarship to a college? What are your goals right now? From what I've heard, if you're in high school, it's really difficult to get recruited, especially to a top like SEC school, just because they're all looking for players in the transfer portal. It's just a completely different dynamic than it used to be. Coaches aren't really willing to develop players anymore. They're just looking for top prospects in the transfer portal. Of course, they're going to get guys who are really good out of high school and, you know, invest a little bit in them. But for the most part, from what I've been seeing, it's all transfer portal, which makes it difficult for, you know, guys who want to go to a really good academic school and play high-level baseball, because there's just not enough spots for everyone at that level right now. It's littered with people who, you know, first went to JUCO, and a lot of people don't want to take that route. So where are you guys in your careers, and what are your plans? How do you plan on adapting to this new age of college baseball? What up, Raw? How's it going? What up, Jacoby? Thank you for liking the live. Appreciate it a lot. All right. So just a nice flat ground, some athletic throws. One thing I'll always do is throw for some sort of command. So I have that 9-hole set up at about chest height of a partner. Let me start up closer. What up, Ron? So everything I'm doing today is just for prep for tomorrow, basically. What up, Jimmy? What up, Sam? What up, Levy? Start here. Oops, not like it. Just need to get the first throw out of me. Get the distance right. Here we go. Nice. And I like these because it gets a nice rhythm in the arm action, swinging it up instead of being robotic. No catcher's mitt today, and no catcher's mitt. We're going for comfort today. Actually, a new glove. I like the baby blue. Not a fan of the navy, honestly. I wish it was black, but definitely do like the blue, the light blue, I should say. Yeah, so I'm just going to do a few kind of like athletic throws that I like to do. and then go into a little bit of a flat ground. Some QB throws. But don't worry, Levy, the catcher's mitt will be back. When I do command pens, I love to do stuff like that where I'm just uncomfortable. The next one, I'm definitely going to be shifting the zone so that the zone is only on the outside, because I'm struggling to get the ball outside right now. I love doing these drills. I like doing these more athletic movement, kind of, off balance throws. And honestly makes my arm feel great. I don't know why specifically. These make my arm feel better than normal. But probably just because I'm being athletic and my body is moving in a more efficient way, in a reactive way, instead of forcing things. So something I need to transition into the mound for sure. All right, one more athletic throw and then go into a more traditional flat ground. I'm also going to grab a drink of water real quick. Got to stay hydrated in this heat. Should have brought extra water today. I always bring 4 bottles of water at least to my workouts, and I'll usually drink all 4. When I wake up in the morning, first thing I do is drink a whole bottle of water, and then I have a whole bottle of water, usually with each meal. What up, Wyatt? All right, flat ground. Going 2 seams, sinkers, whatever. Just trying to feel that extra counter rotation at the end, right before foot plant. What up, Banks? Sinker. I don't know where I should feel that kind of rotation coming from. I feel like I'm doing it with my glove at the end, but I don't know if that's right. Maybe it should be the shoulders. I gotta experiment with it more. That felt pretty good. That time I kind of was feeling this shoulder kind of lock in for an extra couple seconds. I'm gonna throw a couple splitters too now. Splitter. Slip that in my hand. What up, Karma? Stream is frozen on my phone here. Let me just check over here real quick. Yeah, I think it's live. Let me know if you guys can see the stream or not. It's frozen in my one phone where I have it up. Going splitter. Splitter. Not terrible. Splitter again. That's better. That's good, thank you, Levy. So if you saw that splitter, you saw that it kind of cut. Didn't do it on purpose, but I want to learn how to do that on purpose because right now it's sinker going here and then splitter diving down here. So I need something that goes this way, preferably. And, you know, I've tried throwing sweepers in the past. I've tried throwing cutters, and they're just not really that good. I don't get enough spin on my ball. I'm a really low spin guy. So I need something that's low spin that I can manipulate to go the other way. So I think if I just learn how to cut my splitter on command, that'll work out for me. I'm gonna try it right now just for fun. Squeeze the living daylights out of it. Back to the two seam. Why don't you throw a fastball? My sinker is my fastball. So the reason why I don't just throw a four seam, I actually used to throw a four seam, but my four seam runs a lot. And then I started throwing a sinker and it ran even more and moved even more, and the velo was the same. And the metrics on the sinker were just better in all facets. So there was really no point in me throwing a four seam at all. You know, the sinker was just better in every way. Velocity, spin, movement. So I phased out the four seam completely and exclusively throw a sinker. It just matches my spin and my arm slot really good. So I don't throw a four seam. So the sinker is my fastball. And you know, when I throw on So the sinker is my fastball. And you know, when I throw on the mound, what up, Squilliam? Got 2 more balls in the bucket, but I'm gonna do another like 5 to 10 after these are done. However much I can fit in my glove. Then I'm gonna be done for throwing for today. What up, Troy? I remember you told me, Levy, what pitches you throw, but I don't remember. What pitches do you throw? And right now, I'm only going, you know, 2-seam splitter because I'm a big believer that if you can just master 2 pitches, you're better off than just being decent at throwing 4 or 5. If you can just master fastball, changeup, or in my case, a fastball splitter, you're going to be in a great position to succeed. And coaches absolutely love pitchers who can throw a good changeup or a good splitter way more than, you know, a good slider. And as a hitter, most hitters will tell you that they would much rather face a pitcher who throws a really, really good slider than a pitcher who throws a really, really good changeup. I should have fixed that while I was over there, but whatever. Splitter. Splitter. Nice. That's the splitter I want right there. Dives right at the end. What up, Bobby? Back to the two-seam / sinker here. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Just trying to get that last bit of kind of rotation at the end. That's the only thing right now with my mechanics I'm focusing on. And I think one of the biggest mistakes I made back in the day was I was trying to change too much at once. You know, I was trying to rotate better and get hinge better and then fix my arm action and then fix my glove side, and fixing 4 mechanics at once. Not only is it impossible, but it's going to lead to more mechanical flaws in the long run. Because once you fix those, more mechanical flaws will come up because you were so focused on 4 things at once. You have to have focus on one thing in order for it to actually change. So right now for me, that's just right before land, counter rotating a little bit here. So my hips are starting to go, and instead of, you know, hips and then this goes, it's hips, this counter rotates a little bit and then goes. So I get that little extra bit of hip shoulder separation. That's all I'm looking for right now. I'm still trying to figure out what I should feel to get that. Right now I'm liking the shoulder feel, my front shoulder just loading this way a little bit and then unloading. So it's kind of more of like a scap driven kind of rotation this way. Sinker. Yeah, that feels good. And tomorrow, tomorrow's a day where I'm just throwing the ball as hard as I can. There's no consideration of mechanics at all. It's just throw the ball literally as hard as I can and see where I'm at. And that's how it should be in a game as well. If you're going into a game, you know, not necessarily throw the ball as hard as you can, but just perform at the highest and best level that you currently can, and not focus on mechanical adjustments while in game. So that's how I treat my velo days. It's just perform at the highest level possible. Splitter. Not bad. See that one cut a little bit, which I actually like. What up, Rems? How's it going? Good to see you. Splitter. That one got away from me a little bit. But I'm not choking the splitter as much as I first was when I was first throwing them a few weeks ago. So that's good. Definitely a lot better than when I first started throwing them a few weeks ago. Pretty good. Got 2 more throws, gonna go 2 sinkers, and I'm all done for today. Then I'm gonna hop into some arm care. Since you just joined us, Rems, today was just a light day in preparation for my velo day tomorrow. Yeah, that feels good. Right now, are you playing for a team? No. Just training, not playing for a team. My goal, I explained this earlier, but my goal right now isn't to play for a team. It's to train and prove that, my methods and what I do is optimal, and help as many people as I possibly can achieve their goals. A lot of people have told me that I'm too old. I'm 25. Nice. A lot of people have told me that I'm too old and I shouldn't be throwing or whatever. I mean, there's guys who are 37 in the MLB throwing 98 miles an hour. But, I'm here to prove that no matter where you are in your career, you still can train and be on the right training program and get to where you want to be. And I want to help people, realize that and hopefully get them to their fullest potential as well. So that's my goal as of now, and I want to open my own facility as well in the North Jersey area. And I get a lot more satisfaction out of helping others achieve their goals than me achieving mine. So I just really enjoy that. I have a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, that's just my main focus as of now. Not really focused. I'm focused on throwing 95. That's for sure. That's just a life goal. It's half for fun, but also because I'm a big believer in this concept. Who do you listen to? And you should listen to someone who has, first of all, been where you are, and then second is where you want to be. So I want to be a good spokesperson and that guy who can confidently tell you that I've been where you've been and I am where you want to be. So I'm the right fit for you as a coach to train with. What up, Rylan? But in the future, there's a chance that I do play some sort of independent ball or, a competitive league, more so for fun. But it's just not a current goal that I have right now. The current goal for me is just to grow this community of people and hopefully teach a lot of people and help people reach their goals. My goals are going to be different than your goals. And I just want my ultimate goal is to help as many people reach whatever goal that they have as it surrounds baseball and pitching specifically, but also life in general. So just cleaning up a little bit here. I'm going to do some arm care. Put this catcher's mitt away. What up, Roman? So I always like to do Theragun on a low setting, post throw. So for the Theragun, for this Theragun, that is at like 1900. And then I just go over each muscle for about a minute. Today was a light day, so it's not really too needed, but I still like to get blood flowing into the muscle, into all the areas of my arm post throw. Even though it was a light day, I'm not really sore at all, and I'm not going to be sore. But just to make sure that I'm fresh for tomorrow as well. If you have any questions about your training, what you think you should be doing, what my training is like, let me know. Be happy to answer, be happy to have a conversation about that. What up, Quinn? Now's the perfect time to ask questions while I'm doing some recovery, sitting here. Be happy to answer anything you might have on your mind, or any just general comments, baseball talk. What's the max velocity topped by you? 92 miles an hour, you can see. So I I'm on week 10 of this journey. I started on March 31st, which was my 25th birthday. And after my first 5-week cycle, I hit 92 miles an hour, which was the hardest I've ever thrown in my life. And that was just after 5 weeks of this dedicated training that I've been doing. That, everything has been focused on optimizing every aspect of my life, from training to throwing to sleep, nutrition, recovery, every single aspect, completely ultra optimized. And then hopefully tomorrow will be my skin velo day on this journey, and hopefully I can at least reach 92 again. And really the main goal for tomorrow isn't necessarily, like, I would love to obviously hit 93, 94, 95, whatever, but the main goal is to actually have a higher average velocity. Be sitting 89 to 91 instead of 88 to 89. If I could be consistently an average 90 miles an hour, I feel like that's a really big achievement for me, especially for my arm slot and everything. How often do you do a plyo routine? I utilize plyo balls almost every day in some aspect. The routines that I do, a lot of them are mainly, so I have one routine geared for my arm action, making sure that I'm maintaining a non-pushy arm action. And then I have one routine that's more so geared to just priming myself for a high intensity day, pre-throw. So I have like a pre-throw plyo ball routine. There's a lot of other uses for plyo balls, and a lot of people think that plyo balls will increase their velocity, which I just don't think is the case at all. I think that they could be a tool. Like, I use them in a way of, arm care. I do the 2-pound plyo ball taps, and just more like a prepping tool and a little bit of a mechanical tool that I can use indoors, outdoors, wherever. So that's kind of how I treat plyos, but there are some programs out there that use them as a velocity enhancement tool. I think a better velocity enhancement tool than plyos is long toss, in my opinion. I think long toss has been a big part of why I hit 92 my first velo cycle, and also just training in a muscular endurance way instead of training for hypertrophy or what most people would do. But yeah, plyos can be a great tool, just have to know how to use them. How often do you long toss? So my first 5-week cycle, I only long tossed one time, which was the week before my first velo day. This cycle, I did it twice. And then the next cycle, it's going to be 3 times. So it's basically going to be from here on out, since, I started from square one. So it really all depends on where you're at. And there's a from here on out, since, I started from square one. So it really all depends on where you're at. And there's a lot. Sorry about that, guys. Got a call from the girlfriend. She said to get out of the sun so I don't have a farmer's tan, so I rolled up my sleeves. But back to the question on long toss, you have to consider, so for my arm slot, I'm basically a sidearm guy. That doesn't mean I shouldn't long toss, but the frequency of long toss is more optimal for me to be less. So in a 5-week cycle, starting my next cycle, I'm gonna be long tossing 3 times out of that 5-week cycle. Some guys might do better with long tossing twice a week. Some guys might do better with not long tossing at all. I think the maximum that a player should be long tossing is twice a week. I don't really see a need or a use case for long tossing any more than that, unless you're considering long toss at a moderate distance, like 150 feet. But when I do long toss, I'm getting to my max distance and then pulling down as hard as I can, and I treat it as a max intent day. So I don't think you should ever be going max intent with a high amount of volume more than twice per week. But yeah, especially if you're throwing pens as well, because you also have to be able to program in bullpens and other max intent days like that. So things to just consider when programming your own thing. If you're more of a sidearm guy, I would say long toss less frequently, but not at all. And of course, if you're a guy who's coming off of injury, you also have to consider, is putting that much strain in your arm good for you wherever you are in your recovery? So there's a lot of things to consider for individuals based on long toss. But for me, my first cycle was once, my second 5-week cycle was twice, and now my next 5-week cycle is going to be 3 times, and that's pretty much going to be the cap, because it's going to be essentially a deload week and then 3 weeks of building up and working, and those 3 weeks will have my max long toss days in it, and then the 5th week will be my velocity testing week, and then recycle, deload, do the same thing over. But right now for me, I'm just building volume, building resilience, and I'm not rushing. I have a lot of time to do this. Some people might need to get going based on where they're at in their career. If they're, a junior or senior in college, they don't have a lot of time left, so they need to, have a 12-week program that's very. A junior or senior in college, they don't have a lot of time left, so they need to, have a 12-week program that's very strict. We're back. Got another phone call. Got to respect the phone calls I get. Let me know if you have any. What up, Baseball AJ? Let me know if you have any last minute questions before I end the live. I'm going to be heading to the gym in just about 5 minutes. So let me know if you have any last minute questions. My training, your training, baseball questions, baseball comments about the Yankees, anything at all. Just finishing up some late arm care. And I have 2 considerations for arm care. One is dynamic movement, like what I'm doing now. Not putting excessive load, but just doing some dynamic movement after throwing to get blood flowing. And then also, to restore range of motion, like this, restore some range of motion. And then there's muscular endurance, which is what I did yesterday. If you were in the live, my entire workout yesterday was focused on loading positions and holding those positions, building muscular endurance in my forearms, biceps, triceps, all my shoulder muscles. How about them Yankees? Yep, how about them? How would you schedule long toss if you pitch in a game once a week? So, if you're pitching in a game once a week, first of all, it depends. Are you starting that game? Probably. We'll assume that you're starting that game, and that's a max intent, max volume day for you. So I would have a long toss day. Let's say that you're pitching on Friday night. Next day, either a no throwing or light throwing. Day after that, either light or medium throwing, and the day after that, long toss. And then day after that, light, Day after that, a medium bullpen for prep for next Friday, then a light to medium day on Thursday, and then of course Friday game. So that's how I would structure it personally. You also have to consider what is optimal for you and what works for you, but you have to experiment with that too and see, does long tossing 3 days after your game, you starting a game, prevent you from recovering fully? Do you take a long time to recover? Or would it be better if you long toss closer to the game before you throw because it loosens up your arm? But for me personally, if I were starting on a Friday and I wanted to long toss, I would probably long toss on Tuesdays. What up, Quincy? Thanks for liking the live. All right. Done for today. Just cleaning up now. But if you're in season and you're pitching once a week, starting once a week, your goal should be whatever it takes to perform at the highest level on that one day. So you might not even want a long toss. Long tossing for you might be too strenuous. So you have to consider what is the most optimal thing for you so that every Friday you're performing at your highest level. And if long tossing is going to be a detriment to that, you might not want to long toss at all. I think long tossing is a better out of season tool than in season. I think in season it's great for maintaining. You do it once a week, maintaining arm strength, maintaining some resilience in the arm. But definitely shouldn't be doing it more than once a week in season. And then out of season maybe twice a week at the most, depending on. But that again, that all depends on what your goals are and what kind of other throwing you're doing and what you need to work on. So there's a lot of things to consider when it comes to long toss. And really when it comes to anything, and just you have to be very specific and tailor our programs to exactly what you need. What up, Leaner? Or Jeaner? I can't really read. Yeah, if you have any last minute questions while I'm cleaning up here, let me know. Be happy to answer any comments at all about your training, about your throwing program, about nutrition, sleep. I think one thing that's overlooked by everyone, no one's ever mentioned to me what they eat in a day and what they and how they sleep and what they're doing to recover. And I think those are probably the most important questions to be asking, because they have probably even more of an impact than what your throwing routine or lifting routine is. If you have a player that sleeps right, eats right, and recovers right, and then just does the bare minimum for training and throwing, they're going to be way, way better than someone who eats like garbage, doesn't recover, overtrains, and throws every day and maybe works very hard. But if you're not recovering and sleeping and eating in the optimal way, then all that work you're doing is pointless. So those are really some of my big focuses in my everyday life is optimizing my training and throwing, of course, for what I need, but also what I'm eating on a daily basis, making sure I'm sleeping the optimal amount for me, Best drills for hip shoulder separation. I think the question we really want to ask is, why do you want more hip shoulder separation, and do you need more hip shoulder separation? I think you need to ask those questions first, but some good drills for hip shoulder separation is just a simple back lying T-spine where you put your leg over and just hold that deep stretch. But I think what's really good for hip shoulder separation is just I do these spinal waves where, let me just prop my phone, where you're focusing on moving your hips independent of your shoulders. So just this, if you're able to move your hips independent of your shoulders, as you can see, like I'm not moving my upper half at all. I'm firing my hips forward here. And then as a result, my upper half is moving. That's how you should feel on the mound, where your upper half isn't moving independent of itself. It's moving because your hips are rotating. So that's a good drill, I guess. But again, you need to get assessed to see, do you even need more hip shoulder separation if you're talking about from a mobility standpoint. It's hard for me to recommend things because I need to know, are you actually lacking the mobility, the active mobility, or are you not able to have the proprioception and actually control your hips? Because there's two different things. Where do you play? I don't play anywhere. I just train. My son, hold on. Let me answer this first. My son struggles with it. Think he has a lot left in the tank if he got that better. Well, if you visit roadto95.com/intake and fill out an intake form for your son, I can do a full assessment for him and see exactly what he needs to do. I do remote and in-person training. And this also answers the other question of where do I play. I don't play anywhere. I train to find the most optimal ways of training for me so that I can tailor programs for other people as well. And my entire goal is to help as many people reach their goals. Did I play in college? Yes, I did. I played at this school called University of the Sciences in Philadelphia, which was a D2 school in the CACC conference. And then I also played at Ramapo for a year and a half, technically, because I played in the next fall. My entire story is on my page, roadto95.com. If you're interested, it'll break down everything that, I've been through pretty much. It's not my full story, but it's a good summary of what my career has been like and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yes, I'm from Jersey right now. I'm in Denville. I don't live in Denville, but I just work out here because I work out in Rockaway at a gym there. I might be taking 95 to the moon, not gonna lie. I'm not sure what you mean by that, I'm sorry. I'm not really hip with the terminology. Do you mean that you would hit 95 and hit a home run against me or something? I'm not really too sure what you mean, but yeah, if any of you are interested in my story, I have a nice blog post outlining everything I'm all about on my website, roadto95.com. And if you're interested in remote or in-person training, you can also visit there. Visit roadto95/intake, fill out the intake form there, and if you're a good fit, I'll reach out to you and we can set up some remote and in-person training. I do require that everyone fills out the intake form and then has a tailored program created for them. So I don't just do, if you are in the area, I don't just do in-person training. I make sure that you have an entire detailed program from your lifting, throwing, recovery, sleep, nutrition, everything will be covered in that program, because I think that a lot of people are getting scammed, paying for, one-on-one sessions when, those sessions really aren't going to be the deciding factors of what's going to make them better. In reality, that they're probably going to get better from recovering better, sleeping better, eating better, and then of course training the right way. Outside of those 30, 45-minute sessions, you can only do so much in those individual sessions. It's impossible to truly get better. So that's why I like to have detailed programs right now for everyone. Do I track my sleep? I used to track my sleep every night, and I figured out what is optimal for me in terms of time that I go to sleep and what to do before I go to sleep. And I use that as a tool to kind of optimize everything. But I don't currently track my sleep anymore because I just don't feel like I need to. It's hot in here. So yeah, I used to track my sleep, but I don't track my sleep anymore because I just don't feel like it's completely necessary. But starting out, I did track my sleep when I was trying to optimize everything in my life, and it gave me a lot of insight into how to improve my sleep. So I think it is a great tool, like a Whoop. I had a Whoop for 2 years, and I made the most of it. And it gave me a lot of insight into different lifestyle things that improve my recovery or make my recovery worse. And so tracking your sleep can be a great tool, but it's not completely necessary, especially for the long term after you learn what works for you and what doesn't. You have a Whoop, that's good. The new Whoop that I see, the 5.0, looks really, really good. I think that's definitely a great tool. And I'm actually considering getting the new Whoop 5.0. I think it might be, because it tracks so many different metrics compared to the 4.0, I think that's a really good investment for development. Right now I just rock an Apple Watch. I don't really use any of the metrics right now. I'm not really too concerned. I have really good HRV, I have a really good resting heart rate, and I know what I need to do to recover. And I think a lot of good recovery is dependent on how you actually feel, instead of having an app tell you how you feel. So that you have to have a balance of both when you do have it, and try to be aware of all right, the app is telling me that my recovery is poor, but I feel great, and try to realize, why is it telling me I'm feeling poor? Is it because I'm getting sick? Is it because do I have sore muscles somewhere? Is my energy? And then, once you kind of get a sense of that and get a feel, I think that the Whoop is a great tool to get a feel of where you're at every morning and every day. And then once you learn that, you kind of don't need it anymore. But I'm going to the gym now, going to end the live. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next live, probably tomorrow. I'm not going to live stream the actual Velo session, but probably the warm-up leading up to it.